Hello and welcome to another Inner Court Tai-Chi video. My name is Kane Yenser and the subject today is about standing practice, the fallacy of doing the Taiji form, and the goal of Taiji. So not necessarily in that order. This is a video I've wanted to make for a long time, and the idea was to have people examine Zhan Zhuang, or the standing practice in Taiji, and trying to convince people to do it, especially if you're one that has been practicing Taiji for a long time and you've come to a plateau where you're not getting results anymore. Hopefully you'll take a look at standing after I talk for a little bit about standing. All right. So first of all, I said the fallacy of doing the Taiji form, and what I mean is for a lot of people, especially people who haven't gotten into Taiji, and a lot of people who are doing Taiji. Taiji form, do the form, do the form, do the form, do the form. If I do the form, well then it'll develop into what I'm trying to get at. And simple fact is that's not true. It's very, very difficult to only practice the form or put the form at the center of your practice and get to the goal of doing Taiji. Goal of Taiji. What's the goal of Taiji? Goal of Taiji is to develop Jin, at least in the first stages. Okay, you talk about Qi, that's way later, but developing this Jin. So what is Jin? Not to be confused with Jing. All right, Jin, if you put it into Google Translate, it basically comes up as intrinsic energy, and that's kind of, it's not misleading, but I'd like you to think about it in a different way. Think about it as quality, the quality of something. And when we're talking about Jin in Taiji, we're talking about the quality of the connective tissue in the body, mostly the tendons, which connect muscle to bone. Okay, there's also fascia and other things. But you're trying to change the quality of that connective tissue so it acts in a different way. So for example, if you have wood, you cut down a tree because you want to build a house, you don't use that wood right away. It's got to be cured, it's got to be changed. The quality of the wood has to be changed so it does what you want it to do, which is be stiff and hold up the house. If you use it when it's wet, there's going to be rotting problems, there'll be all sorts of problems, and it's not going to act exactly the way you want it to. And you can think about a lot of things this way. Steel, all the things we use in life, we look for different qualities, so because we want a certain purpose out of them. Same thing in Taiji. All right, we're looking for a certain quality in the connective tissue in the body so it acts a certain way. So in Taiji, you're told to relax. Okay, this is to release the muscles so you can actually get at the connective tissue. That's the point of releasing the muscle, is that so you can get at the connective tissue and make a physical change. Okay, if you're stiff, what happens is the connective tissue is locked in place and it doesn't do anything. It doesn't get stretched, it doesn't get pulled on, it doesn't change. It just acts as like an anchor for the muscle to the bone. So Taiji, we're asked to relax so that the connective tissue can be manipulated. All right, that's the big one in Taiji. So once you can relax and do this, well, then the quality of the connective tissue changes, and then you get Jin, intrinsic energy, something native to that tissue that won't be released unless you change it. Just like a balloon, when you blow it up, you pull on it so that it can accept the air pressure and blow up more easily. It's the same thing. You're changing the quality. Jin, intrinsic energy. So this brings me to the fallacy of the form, thinking that you can reach the goal of doing Taiji, develop Jin, or get at Jin by doing the form, which is really, really hard. So if you're doing the form even every day, unless you're doing the form like 19, 20 times a day, every day, it's very hard to do this. Why? Well, because you're doing a form, you're doing a movement. You have all these principles to worry about. Hold the head this way, sink the chest, tuck under, relax, separate the weight, move from the waist, all this stuff. Sink the breath down to dantian. On top of that, you're trying to memorize this long sequence of movements, understand the application of those movements. That's a tall order to do. And it's very hard to get in the state of relaxation that you need to release the muscle to get at the connective tissue. So in comes standing. Standing, what are we doing? It's a static posture. You don't have to think about all that stuff. Okay, you're not moving. You can concentrate on breathing, which helps you relax. Structure, the principles, and you're not moving. You don't have all this stuff to do. And quite frankly, I know a lot of very highly skilled teachers and players that don't do a form anymore because I don't need it. All right, they do push hands and they're doing it for health. They're not doing it necessarily for the martial part, but they don't use the form anymore because it's not necessary for them, and they're very, very good. They have Jin, all right? And they know how to move the body, so the form's not that necessary for them. Now, I'm not saying throw the form out. I practice the form all the time. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you need to re-look and rethink the purpose of doing Taiji and where the form stands in that purpose. So for me, I practice the form as much as I practice standing. And I stumbled upon this kind of by, not accident, but I ran into somebody. I started learning when I was back when I was 18, and I was taught standing. My teacher was very good and very traditional, very dogmatic. But the one thing I wasn't told was you need to do standing religiously. It was part of the class, but I did not practice it like it was a main part of the practice. It wasn't until I got up to Boston, I met a gentleman who did Liu Hebafa, who is kind of a recluse. But anyways, I ran into him. I pushed hands with him one day, and at that time I was all right. You couldn't push me easily. I was soft. I was getting better. I practiced a lot. And he pushed me up into the air. I flew back 10 feet. I was in the air. I didn't even realize I was in the air until I hit the wall behind me. And I was like, oh my God, that's what a push is supposed to feel like. It didn't feel a shove. I didn't even feel the push. So anyways, I begged this person to teach me. And I was very poor at the time, and he luckily, he said, I'll teach you even for a small amount of money. And I was like, what's the secret? How are you able to do that? And he says, standing. I was like, how much do you stand? How much do you practice your Zhan Zhuang? And he says, 2 hours a day. And it was way more than he did the form. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to give it a shot. And I started doing standing, almost like it was the main part of my practice. And from that day, he saw advancements, and I felt it. I changed, okay? It's not something I would have got doing the practice I was doing. And I was practicing a lot, all right? But I was focusing mainly on the form. But standing became just as much a part of my practice as form and as Negong. They're equal, okay? So I'd like people to reevaluate what they're doing, especially if you find yourself stuck at a certain point and you're not getting better. And it's not necessarily you have to practice more, just incorporate standing. And I know standing is difficult and it seems insipid sometimes, but if you practice standing, and you do need a teacher to correct you. You just don't go up and start standing, because you have to learn and get these subtle corrections, because a little piece can be off and it changes everything. But if you do that, it's very hard not to start to progress. All right. So I've wanted to make this video for a long time. I didn't know how to approach it, but I'm not sure if this is the correct way to approach it. But standing has really changed my practice. I've been practicing for over 30 years. I've been around the world to see a lot of players. I'm a Tai Chi teacher, obviously, and I'm just here to advocate standing because how it changed my practice. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down in the place where you're supposed to leave comments and questions. If you'd like the video, subscribe, all that stuff. And I'll probably make a video pretty soon about the subtleties of practicing standing. And I hope you stand. All right? I'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.